if we talk about 19 is the residence order. She can claim residence, as my learned said, that the Taruna Batra judgment, she has a right in the shared household. 20, if we talk about maintenance, she can claim maintenance. 21 is again about the custody order of the children. And 22 is the compensation order.
Okay.
So there are certain things in the Domestic Violence Act which needs to be amended from time to time.
That's
and
right.
the legal recourse with respect to the when you go to the court, both the parties are to be heard.
That's right. Vivek, I'll come back to you because right now we need to slip into a very short break here in Gender Discourse, but people do come back quickly, as today we are trying to analyze whether it is time for India to have a liberation movement for men. So what do you think about it? Do tell us. Our lines will still be open and the number is 1800115313. We'll be back in just a moment. Welcome back. This is Gender Discourse and today we are talking about the fact of whether finally do we need men's liberation movement in India or not. Well, before we go further into the discussion, let's take a look at the NCRB findings about the number of suicides that have happened in terms of men. I mean, how many men have really committed suicide in the past few years? Let's take a look at that.
NCRB findings. According to the National Crime Records Bureau, the number of suicides in the country has increased by 40% during the decade 1996 to 2006. While 26.1% of the total number of suicides is attributed to domestic violence, 16.6% of the suicides are due to causes unknown. Taking these percentages into account, an estimated 11,882 married men committed suicide in 1996 due to domestic violence. 16,635 married men committed suicide in 2006 due to domestic violence. 14,258 married men on an average committed suicide due to domestic violence every year, and 1,56,843 married men have ended their lives due to domestic violence between the years 1996 to 2007. In the category comprising individuals with a living spouse, married and or separated, the number of suicides is always higher for males. In other categories, the number of suicides is either equal to that of women or even slightly lesser for males, indicating that intimate partner violence is a major reason for Indian men committing suicide.
Well, those again are very disturbing facts indeed. And right now we have with us Mr. N.K. Singh. So Mr. Singh, if you are with me, welcome to the show.
Namaskar.
Ji, namaskar.
What I want to say is that the fundamental problem in our country is non-honest implementation of all the laws. This is true for women's laws also. I came across a case where an engineer boy, he married and in 15 days he was in trouble, he was in jail, his parents were in jail and they had to fight right up to Supreme Court. So the purely if you want to give protection to men by law, I think it will not work. What is required is, as in all spheres of life in this country, honesty in implementation.
Right.
That is important.
Right. Well, thank you so much, Mr. Singh, for that point of view, really. So, Sandeep, I would like your reaction on that. Do you think that this is exactly what is happening and there is...
This is what the media is trying to communicate to press, that it is the problem of implementation. This is like, because let me tell you, there are crores of rupees of foreign agencies, those who are pumping in money for writing, doing surveys and getting lobbying for law passing. I went to Ministry of Women and Child Development's office 3 times. And every time when I was signing, I met one of the women who was funded by this foreign agencies, UNIFEM or whatever. So basically what is happening is there is a lot of full-time employees doing surveys and writing for press articles and going for TV debates and all. So media is getting only one-sided picture. And the lobbying for law drafting is happening one-sided. So one of the pictures that they want to tell is that the law drafting, the problem is that they have law drafting process has a fault. That is what our NGO believes, at least. And they are saying to the media that the implementation, see, if you give police let me tell you, the stats in Delhi are like that. In 1 in 6 in Delhi, whether he's a man or a woman, will have to face 498A, that is arrest without investigation.
That's right.
After a few decades from now, if the percentage doesn't increase, I am telling you. So it's going to be worse. So when you are saying 1 in 6 person in Delhi will have to basically face arrest without investigation, that's a big thing. So, and this power is with the police. Police is, nowhere in the world is police have so much, you cannot give so much money to the police. Any country in the world, if you give police power to arrest without investigation to 1/6 of your population of a city, they will misuse it. So you have to implement the law in a way that they don't have power to arrest without investigation.
Right. Well, Sandeep, I'll have to interrupt you here for a minute, because right now we have with us a viewer, Iram from Delhi. So Iram, if you're with me, welcome to the show, and what is it you'd like to share with us?
Yeah, what I would like to share is, I want to say that earlier the social conditions are changing right now. That's why probably we never think in that context ki as in men can also be exploited. We don't think in that sense, because it was earlier cases were not like this. But now the things are changing, so we have to think in that sense.
True.
Earlier it was not necessary, but nowadays it is very necessary because of a lot of pressures. Men are being exploited.
Okay.
By women also, and men by men also.
All right,
so that's very true.
Right. Iran, thank you so much for sharing your views with us. So what she's saying is really that our social conditioning is such that nobody is ready to believe. Like, for example, when boys are brought up in a family or girls are brought up, boys are brought up very differently. If a boy falls down and cries, nobody lets him cry. You know that you are a man, you're a boy, you can't cry. So do you think our social conditioning, as she said, has a lot to do with the kind of attitudes that the society portrays towards men?
Obviously, yes. First of all, it is really good to answer a question from a lady who's actually realizing that the men are being tortured these days. These days, what is happening is the background, as in the brought up of the children, is such that also affects the social conditioning of a particular man.
Right.
Suppose it your family, a well-respected family, if somebody comes to know that the boy is facing 498A, so there's a social stigma.
Right.
So everybody from that family finds faults in the boy. That, okay, if you have 4 brothers, then why only you are facing this? There might be some ego problem with you. Or there are
everybody puts the fault on the man, you're saying.
But now what is to be seen is, on what circumstances does this situation happen? Now the time has come when the right and the wrong should be realized properly. That is, whether the man is at fault or the women is at fault. If the women is at fault, they should realize it and they should think about it and they should correct themselves. If the man is at fault, he should realize it and he should try improving things. So that is how a good family runs. So because it is said that you cannot clap with one hand. So a good family cannot run if any of the two has egos. So compromises have to be from both the sides, and the situations have to be made good if both of them together work upon it.
Right, very well put, I think, Vivek. And now we have with us Ashima Bhatnagar from Delhi. So Ashima, are you with me?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, welcome to the show. And what is it?
Yeah, I have a question to ask.
Please go ahead.
Yes. What is the status of such laws to protect men against violence in the West, like particularly in the US? Which countries do have the most enterprising laws?
Okay, so which workable laws, as in?
Yeah.
Right, so I can take these one by one.
You want to take?
Okay, Sandeep.
So basically, this domestic violence, in the other countries there is difference. In India, if you have a matrimonial dispute, let me tell you, divorce is virtually impossible to get for a man. So that is a basic difference. So if you don't get divorce, you are stuck with that. You will be living separate for 20-25 years. You will not get child custody. You will get visitation for 2 hours in court, let's say after 15 days. And that your child will be so much poisoned that by the other party, because they are afraid you might not take him away. So you don't get child custody, you don't get divorce, maintenance you have to pay. There is no way you can avoid maintenance, at least if you are paying income tax or somehow. So whereas in the West, divorce is easy, child visitation is the men in West are also fighting a pitched battle, I will say. It's not easy for them also for visitation. They have also made several organizations. I am in the mailing list of some of those organizations. But the problem is that all this feminist or whatever women organizations are doing, they are full-time employees to do this. Because they get funding from United Nations and various governments. Whereas all this...
So is your fight only about fundings? Are you trying to say here that the day men start getting, or these organizations which are fighting for the rights of men, if they start getting the funding, then how do we know that you will also not have exaggerated figures?
If even 1% of these funding is given to some, I mean, I'm not saying men organization, non-feminist women organizations, you will not be able to pass any of these laws that are in pipeline stage, which are much worse than 498 and DV have passed. There is in all the laws in pipeline stage, for example, sexual harassment at workplace, they are saying the judges will not be neutral. They said feminists would judge, and if a harassment complaint is received in office, how much money a girl will get. If say mere ko aankh mari, so then they will say, okay, give him 10 lakhs or give her 10 lakhs, 20 lakhs. How much money will be decided by feminists? There will be 3 feminists in that committee. And our Ministry of Women and Krishna Tirath is saying that passing this law is her first priority. So how can somebody say this law is justified for such laws? So all these laws in pipeline stage, or what have been passed in the last 5-6 years because of, so if even they get 1% of funding, you will not be able to pass a single law. Let me tell you.
Well, I'll definitely get the lawyer's take on that. But before that, we have with us Mr. C.M. Jaitley from Mumbai. So, Mr. Jaitley, if you're with me, what's your question?
हाँ नमस्कार। देखिए, कहते थे पहले कि नारी अबला है, लेकिन ये कानून के हिसाब से इतनी सबला बन गई है। मैं वकील के हिसाब से बता रहा हूँ कि जो लेडी है 498 का इतना सारा लेके ब्लैकमेल करती है, पूरी फैमिली को अरेस्ट कराती है, बाद में जब मैटर कोर्ट में डाइवर्स के लिए भी जाता है तो वहां पे भी इतना हैरेसमेंट करते हैं, मतलब फिजिकली भी और मेंटली भी, समझो कि उसको डर होता है हस्बैंड को। तो वो कुछ वक्त तक यदि अपने आप को बचाना चाहता है तो उसको उनके हिसाब से मैक्सिमम अमाउंट दे के एलिमनी का सेटलमेंट करना पड़ता है। और कई बार तो ऐसी कंडीशंस होती है कि जो लेडी है ज्यादा कमा रही है और हस्बैंड यदि कमाई कम है, समझो पैसा ले घर से लेडी आती है, सब सुविधा है, गरीब घर में सुविधा न मिलते उसको सब सुविधा चाहिए, तो उसकी डिमांड